Hello all, it is Barb here, professional home care personal support worker, union steward, certified member and co-chair of a joint health and safety committee, not a doctor, nurse, or epidemiologist, but a science nerd and a medical nerd. I was texting with a Facebook friend in Toronto yesterday, I believe it was. They live in a condo down there, and they had asked me if I had anything specific to do with condo living, and I said I would do the best I could. Just wanting to give you a caveat here that I have never lived in a condo. I've lived in apartments and never anything that's a high rise. What can I say? The Towering Inferno made a good impression on me when I was a kid. So I'm rather ignorant in the ways of condo living, but I have been told things such as they are communities unto themselves. It's almost like a world away from outside of the regular world. They are governed by boards who lay out the rules, regs, policies, and procedures that keep order. Having said that, I'm going to do the best I can. Now, these would be things outside of what you're regularly doing, such as in this case, not letting sick people in and staying home when you're sick. I made a recommendation a while ago now, it seems like a lifetime ago, to set up a hand sanitizing station in the lobby. Yes, soap and water is best, but you're not going to set up a sink in the lobby. Having that station, having a sign on the wall showing the proper way to sanitize your hands. And the higher end ones, I'm told, have, is it a concierge, I guess that's the proper term, who can enforce that sort of thing, because they're the ones that keeps things running smoothly, as I'm given to understand. I would recommend closing all the common areas, pool rooms, or gyms, anything like that if you haven't already. Limiting access. You can actually fix it so nobody's allowed in if you like, or nobody but the delivery people, and have them screened. This is what I do in my line of work. Have you got a fever, a cough, a cold, shortness of breath? Have you been out of the country in the last 14 to 30 days? Have you been around anybody who's been out of the country within 14 to 30 days? That sort of thing. You can ask those questions before you let them in. What else? Constant information blitz. I've got my union and I've got my employer. We're getting some information. Sometimes it's not a lot, and that's when people start getting antsy because there's not a lot of information. So clear information and suggestions as to things that people can do, because if you're going to sequester yourself for the period of time I think we're going to have to, you're going to need things to do. Organize your closets, that kind of stuff. Checking on your elder and infirm residents, be it through a phone call or maybe knocking on the door and just talking to them through the door. That might help. The person who lives in the condo in Toronto was telling me what they went through to bring a delivery into their apartment, and the first thing popped into my head, they were talking about how they had to leave some stuff in the hallway, which is against the rules. I might recommend amending current rules or creating new rules just for this situation, because sometimes that needs to happen. A situation like this happens, the regular rules don't quite cut it, so you have to come up with something new and better to fit the situation. Leaving things in the hallway, it depends on how many deliveries you get, and if everyone gets deliveries, is everyone going to leave their stuff out in the hallway? You might, if it's possible, designate a common room to put all the deliveries in, 6 feet apart or what have you, for a few days until whatever viruses might be on the surfaces die. And then you can come down and pick up your stuff. However, and here's where I find the problem with the solution, that doesn't work for food items. Anything that would be refrigerated or frozen, that wouldn't work. So I think what my friend was talking about with, going out with gloves and taking everything out of the bag or box and leaving that in the hallway and washing down everything when it comes in, I think that's a good idea. And now I'm going to go to the page I found. I was doing some research to see if it matches up with what I have to say, and I find it did, but the problem was a lot of it was information out of the United States, and I wanted something Ontario specific. I found something more Toronto specific even, torontostories.com, but stories is spelled S-T-O-R-E-Y-S. And I did find that they agreed with a lot of what I was saying. It's an article, what Toronto condos and apartments are doing to stop the coronavirus. And they mention, about the sanitizer in the lobby, closing all the common areas down, calling its elderly residents to check on their well-being, constant updates and notices. I didn't think of this one, limiting an elevator to no more than 4 person per ride. But I'm given to understand there are places where they're just 1 per elevator. Better safe than sorry. Disinfecting the buildings. Some condos are really, really stepping it up. On a typical day, there's a quote from Robert Clopot, CEO of the Forest Hill Group. He says, on a typical day, the lobby in one of these buildings is cleaned approximately twice, once after the morning rush and again after the evening. Right now, we're wiping down the lobby, elevator, and any common areas every 15 minutes. That is quite an increase, you've got to say. I forgot to mention this article is by Eric Wainwright. They talk about deliveries. The deliveries are met at the front door by Condo staff. And then what they do is they may take it up to the apartment and then knock and then leave it on the floor and then step back. And then they confirm that the tenant opens the door and gets the delivery. Things have changed a lot in the condo living. And here's the thing, with PPE, personal protective equipment, I've mentioned in other videos that we in healthcare are having issues getting this stuff now. The same gentleman states, when this started, we got enough supplies, glove, masks, wipes, and hand sanitizer for what we thought would be a year. We're now looking at them likely lasting a month. And getting new supplies is going to be a real challenge. So yes, they pretty much are in line with the things I've been saying. I hope this was able to help you. If you're already doing these things, great. If I was able to give you another idea with the help of that page, then that is great too, because I want to see all healthy. The person who I was texting with, I'd really like to meet them one day, whenever that opportunity ends up having to present itself, who knows when, but I kind of like them to stay safe during this time of madness. That's all I've got right now. Everyone stay healthy, stay safe. Remember, don't touch this when you go out. Wash your hands when you're coming and going. Sanitize if you don't have soap and water. Remember, between the fingers, because that's the most neglected part. Do remember to also moisturize your hands, because when they become raw and cracked, that's another way for any organism to get in, not just this one. Stay away from sick people. Don't let sick people in. Yeah, look after your seniors, check in with them, and be gentle with yourself as well, because if you're anxious all the time, it hits the immune system, and you want to stay strong. That's it. See you all in the funny papers.